The Galactic Elite, an assembly of the most powerful and influential alien leaders in the known universe, sat in their grand chamber, a place adorned with symbols of their ancient civilizations. Their forms were as varied as the stars, yet all shared a common trait of imposing physicality. Some had multiple limbs that moved with fluid grace, others possessed exoskeletons that shimmered with an almost metallic sheen. Their eyes gleamed with an intelligence that had seen centuries of intergalactic politics, conquest, and cultural dominance. They prided themselves on their superior technology and unmatched intellect. Today, however, they were intrigued by something entirely new, a transmission from Earth, the human planet. It was a broadcast of what they initially assumed were combat drills or some primitive war games, but to their surprise, they realized it was a display of human sports. Their reaction was swift. Laughter echoed through the chamber, a sound more like a series of clicks and low hums. They found the concept amusing, even absurd. They could not fathom how such crude activities could pass for entertainment, or, worse, for proving one's strength and skill. One of the elite, a figure with a serpentine body and elongated limbs, sneered as he watched humans tackling each other on a grassy field. They called this a test of strength. His words dripped with disdain. Barbaric. Unrefined. This is the best these humans have to offer. A murmur of agreement spread throughout the room. Yet, behind the sneers, there was a flicker of curiosity. What if they turned this ridiculous human endeavor into an opportunity? An idea began to take shape, a contest, an interspecies event that would not only amuse the galactic elite but also affirm their own superiority. They could showcase the best of human sports on their own terms and humiliate these lesser beings in the process. The decision was made with a unanimous vote. An invitation would be sent to Earth, couched in polite diplomatic language but with an underlying tone of condescension. The message extended an offer to host an interspecies Olympics, with the galactic elite providing the venue, rules, and audience. The humans, of course, were welcome to bring their best athletes to participate. On Earth, the invitation was met with mixed reactions. Some saw it as an honor, others as an insult, but to the human athletes selected for the event, it was a challenge, a chance to prove themselves on a galactic stage. They were a diverse group, representing different sports, cultures, and regions of Earth. They were not naive. They knew they were being underestimated, even mocked. But that only steeled their resolve. Each athlete trained harder, driven by a quiet determination. They were not just competing for themselves but for their planet, for humanity. The day came for their departure. They boarded the sleek, advanced spacecraft provided by the galactic elite, feeling the mix of nerves and excitement coursing through them. The journey was swift, yet every moment was heavy with anticipation. They had seen images of the alien planet, but nothing could have prepared them for the spectacle that awaited. As they disembarked, they were met with a vast crowd of alien spectators, their faces filled with curiosity and thinly veiled disdain. The architecture around them was a marvel of alien technology, with structures that seemed to defy gravity and materials that shifted colors like a living organism. The humans could feel the weight of 1,000 eyes upon them, eyes that expected to see clumsy, awkward creatures out of their depth. The galactic elite stood at the forefront, their expressions a mix of amusement and condescension. A tall alien with an emerald green exoskeleton stepped forward, his voice amplified across the arena. "Welcome, humans, to the greatest sporting event in the galaxy. We are pleased to have you here to demonstrate your unique skills," he said, pausing to let the words hang, almost as if he were savoring them. The alien crowd erupted into a strange, resonant laughter. The human athletes exchanged glances but remained silent, their expressions calm and focused. They were here to compete, not to entertain these alien elites with their perceived shortcomings. They had come prepared for a different kind of battle, one where the stakes were not just personal victory but also the honor of their entire species. The alien audience continued to watch, expecting hesitation or fear. Instead, they saw determination in the humans' eyes. For a moment, the sneers faltered, curiosity replacing mockery. As the humans marched forward to their quarters, they could hear the whispers, the snickers, but they paid no mind. They knew the only way to silence them would be to win. As they entered the preparation area, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The galactic elite watched from above, amused and confident, convinced they would soon see the humans fail spectacularly. But among the humans there was no doubt, only a shared resolve. They were ready to face whatever the next day would bring, knowing that their actions, their strength, and their unity would speak louder than any alien sneer or laughter ever could. The opening ceremonies were a spectacle unlike anything the human athletes had ever seen. The arena was colossal, a technological marvel suspended in a field of stars. Lights danced across the vast expanse, forming intricate patterns and shapes that morphed in midair. Alien music, composed of strange and haunting melodies, echoed throughout, accompanied by holographic displays of alien cultural achievements, conquests, inventions, and creations spanning millennia. It was an awe-inspiring display meant to assert the superiority of the galactic elite. Human athletes stood in their designated area, surrounded by the alien competitors, who moved with a fluidity and grace that seemed almost otherworldly. Their uniforms shimmered with technology woven into the fabric, sensors and enhancements visible to the naked eye. The humans wore simple outfits, functional, comfortable, and without any of the enhancements that adorned their alien counterparts. Yet, despite the simplicity of their appearance, they stood tall, their expressions focused and unwavering. A voice boomed across the arena, welcoming all to the grand exhibition of strength and skill. The galactic elite took turns boasting about their own cultural and physical prowess, subtly mocking the humans for their primitive pastimes. The audience laughed, a strange, multitonal sound, as if several frequencies were overlapping at once. The human athletes felt the weight of the disdain, but they stood resolute, knowing the only response would be on the field. The first event was announced, a parkour race across an alien-designed course. The crowd erupted in excitement, knowing this would be an easy victory for their own. The course was filled with towering structures, moving platforms, narrow ledges, and unexpected obstacles, a test not just of speed but of agility and reflexes. For the aliens, this was a familiar challenge. Their multi-limbed bodies and enhanced senses gave them a natural advantage. The humans, however, faced an unfamiliar and daunting task. As the race began, the aliens took the lead almost immediately, moving with a speed and fluidity that made them seem like blurs against the backdrop of the course. They leaped, swung, and twisted their way through the obstacles with ease, their limbs allowing them to grasp, balance, and maneuver in ways that seemed impossible to human eyes. The crowd cheered wildly, exhilarated by the display. The human athletes lagged behind, struggling with the alien environment. The obstacles were designed for creatures with different anatomies, and their movements seemed clumsy in comparison. Yet they persisted, each one refusing to give in. As they navigated the course, they began to adapt. They studied the movements of their competitors, noting patterns, observing the way the course shifted and changed. One human athlete, in particular, caught the eye of the spectators. A wiry, agile figure, he seemed to move with a different rhythm than the rest. He was slower than the aliens but more precise, calculating every step and jump with careful intent. When he reached a particularly challenging obstacle, a series of rotating platforms suspended over a deep chasm, he paused, assessing his options. The aliens had breezed through this part, using their multiple limbs to balance and propel themselves forward. The human, however, took a different approach. Instead of attempting to navigate the platforms directly, he crouched low, gathering his strength, and then launched himself in a powerful, twisting leap. He grabbed onto the edge of a platform with one hand, swung his body around with momentum, and used his legs to kick off from the underside, propelling himself forward in an unexpected trajectory. The audience gasped, and even the galactic elite leaned forward, intrigued by the maneuver. The human landed deftly on the far side of the obstacle, having bypassed most of it with a combination of athleticism and creativity. He continued on, finding unconventional solutions to each challenge, cutting corners where he could, using every ounce of his strength and ingenuity. The race continued, the gap between the human and the leading aliens narrowing ever so slightly. The crowd's enthusiasm dimmed as they began to watch the human more closely, their jeers turning to murmurs of uncertainty. The aliens, confident at first, now glanced back, surprised to see a human gaining on them. As they neared the final stretch, the human athlete pushed himself harder, his muscles burning, his breath ragged, but his eyes focused. The lead alien competitor, sensing the unexpected competition, surged ahead with a burst of speed. The human, undeterred, found one last reserve of energy and made a final leap across a gap wider than any before. He soared through the air, his arms reaching out, fingers grazing the edge. For a heartbeat, it seemed he might fall short, but then he clamped down with his hands, his body swinging like a pendulum. With a mighty effort, he pulled himself up, scrambling over the ledge just as the alien crossed the finish line. The gap was narrow, mere moments separated the victor from the second place, but it was clear, the alien had won. The crowd erupted again, though their cheers were now mixed with murmurs. The alien competitor raised its arms in triumph, but the celebration was subdued, less confident than before. The human athlete, panting and drenched in sweat, was met with curious stares instead of the expected ridicule. The Galactic elite exchanged looks, a silent communication passing between them. They had seen something they did not expect, an adaptability, a cleverness in the humans that did not align with their assumptions. It was only the first event, but doubt had been sown. They would watch more closely now, their laughter replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. The announcement of the next event, a wrestling match, brought an immediate surge of excitement among the alien spectators. This was their arena, their strength. Wrestling, as they knew it, was a test of brute force, raw power, and endurance, all attributes that the aliens believed set them far above the humans. The alien competitors moved with visible confidence, their bodies designed for this kind of contest, muscles rippling under thick, armored skin, multiple limbs flexing with an ease that seemed almost mechanical. Their expressions were smug, certain of their impending victory. The human team, meanwhile, huddled together in their preparation area. At the center stood their chosen wrestler, a veteran athlete with a sharp mind and an unyielding spirit. He was not the largest or the strongest among them, but he was known for his tactical brilliance. His demeanor was calm, his focus unwavering. As he warmed up, he stretched his muscles deliberately, rehearsing moves in his mind, eyes narrowed with concentration. He knew what he was up against. The aliens viewed this as a demonstration of their superiority, a chance to crush human pride beneath their physical might. They were overconfident, assuming that their size, strength, and extra limbs would make the contest a foregone conclusion. But the human wrestler had spent hours studying his opponents, analyzing their movements, observing their tendencies. He understood that they relied heavily on their physical advantages and lacked the nuanced understanding of wrestling as a strategic sport. As he stepped into the ring, the alien crowd roared with anticipation. Across from him, his alien opponent, a towering figure with 6 arms and a hulking frame, smirked, clearly eager to begin. The signal was given, and the match commenced. The alien lunged forward with astonishing speed, using its multiple limbs to grab and pull with relentless force. The human wrestler struggled to maintain his footing, his muscles straining under the sheer weight and power of his opponent. For the first few moments, it seemed like a mismatch. The alien threw the human across the ring with ease, and the crowd cheered louder with each move. The human staggered but remained standing, taking a moment to regain his balance. He was being tested, pushed to his limits. The alien, sensing an easy victory, became more aggressive, attacking with even greater ferocity. But the human did not yield. He began to maneuver carefully, using every second to assess and adapt. He dodged and parried, letting the alien's powerful blows glance off instead of landing fully. His movements were deliberate, economical, designed to conserve his strength while wearing down his opponent. With each clash, he noted the alien's growing frustration, the tiny signs of fatigue beginning to show. The alien, confident in its superior strength, continued to press the attack, but it was becoming clear that something was off. The human's defense was too composed, too measured. Slowly, the alien's movements became less coordinated, its strikes more desperate. The human wrestler seized the opportunity to go on the offensive, using a series of calculated maneuvers to counter the alien's attacks, forcing it to exert even more energy. The turning point came when the human wrestler spotted a critical weakness. The alien's reliance on brute force was causing it to overextend with every attack. The human suddenly shifted his stance, allowing the alien to lunge at him one more time, but instead of resisting, he sidestepped and redirected the alien's momentum, using its own weight against it. The alien stumbled, surprised, and the human followed through with a swift, decisive move, a calculated leg sweep combined with a powerful slam, leveraging the alien's imbalance. The impact was devastating. The alien hit the ground hard, its head snapping back with a sickening thud. For a moment, the arena fell silent. The alien lay motionless, its limbs splayed awkwardly, its chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Medics rushed in, but it was clear to those watching, the alien was grievously injured, its arrogance had led to a fatal mistake. Gasps and murmurs spread through the crowd, a mix of disbelief and shock. The Galactic elite, seated above, exchanged uncertain glances. Their champion, the one who was supposed to demonstrate their undeniable superiority, lay defeated, broken. They dismissed the incident with thinly veiled disdain, calling it a mere accident, a fluke that meant nothing in the grand scheme of things. But there was an unease that settled in the air, an unspoken acknowledgement that perhaps they had underestimated their opponents. The human team, meanwhile, stood a little taller, their heads held high. The victory had not come easy, but it had come through strategy, through understanding their enemy and using their own strengths against them. The human wrestler, still catching his breath, glanced at his teammates and gave a small nod. They had achieved something more than just a win. They had shattered the alien's illusion of superiority, even if just for a moment. The alien competitors, once so confident, now seemed more cautious, their earlier bravado tempered by a hint of fear. They had witnessed something they did not understand, a different kind of strength, one not born from physical might alone but from cunning, resilience, and a refusal to be broken. The Galactic elite, for all their dismissals, could not ignore the shift in the crowd's energy, the subtle but undeniable shift in momentum. As the humans left the ring, there was no cheering from their side, only a sense of quiet triumph. They knew this was just the beginning. The aliens were still convinced of their superiority, but now there was a crack in that confidence, a doubt that had started to creep into their minds. The arena buzzed with anticipation as the mixed martial arts tournament was announced, the next event in the ongoing display of human and alien athleticism. Unlike the previous contests, this one carried an unmistakable undercurrent of danger. The aliens had begun to feel a creeping uncertainty. They had witnessed unexpected outcomes in the earlier events, but this time, they were determined to reassert their dominance. The stakes had been raised, and they would not allow another surprise. Key alien competitors were introduced with great fanfare. These were fighters known across the galaxies for their combat prowess. One was a towering warrior with a body covered in scales that could regenerate almost instantly from cuts and bruises. Another had 4 arms, each moving with lightning speed, capable of delivering a series of blows faster than the human eye could follow. Yet another competitor was a shapeshifter, able to alter its form to adapt to any opponent's style. Each had unique physiological advantages, honed through years of battle in arenas far more lethal than any human could imagine. The humans, in contrast, stood resolute. Their faces were set in expressions of grim determination. They knew that this was not just about proving physical strength but about demonstrating the full extent of human resilience and adaptability. They were aware of their limitations. They had studied their opponents' unique abilities. The mood among the human fighters was one of intense focus, a steely resolve to show that they would not be broken easily. The tournament began with an explosive start. The alien fighters dominated the initial rounds, their advanced reflexes and physical capabilities giving them a significant edge. The first human to step into the ring was quickly overpowered by the alien with regenerative limbs. Every strike the human landed was countered with a swift recovery. Every move was met with a ferocity that seemed unstoppable. The alien crowd cheered, their confidence returning. Another human fighter faced the shapeshifter, who morphed and twisted with each attack, making it nearly impossible to land a clean blow. The human fighters struggled to find openings, and more than once, they were thrown to the ground with a force that left them dazed. But as the rounds progressed, the humans began to adapt. They watched closely, learning from each bout, analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of their opponents. They started to pick up on patterns: the predictable way the four-armed alien launched its flurry of punches, the slight delay in the shapeshifter's transformations. The human fighters began to move differently, using their agility to evade attacks, conserving their energy while forcing the aliens to expend theirs. The human competitors employed a variety of tactics, testing their opponents' limits, using psychological warfare. They baited the aliens into overcommitting, used feints to create openings, and took advantage of every mistake. Slowly, the tide began to turn. The alien fighters, though still powerful, started to show signs of frustration. They were unused to opponents who adapted so quickly, who fought with a level of cunning and strategy that they had not anticipated. The tension in the arena grew as the tournament moved toward its climax. The final match was announced, pitting the most formidable alien fighter against a human competitor who had remained in the shadows until now, a seasoned martial artist known for his unpredictability and fearlessness. The alien was a creature of immense size, with exoskeletal armor and a pair of eyes that could see in multiple spectrums, detecting movements before they even happened. It was a champion, unbeaten in countless contests. The human stepped into the ring with a calm demeanor, his face betraying no emotion. The crowd fell silent, sensing that this fight would be different. From the outset, it was clear that the alien held the upper hand. Its speed was blinding, its strikes so powerful that they echoed across the arena. But the human remained unfazed, dodging and weaving, never staying still long enough to be pinned down. The alien grew more aggressive, its blows becoming wild and frenzied, determined to end the match quickly. The human, however, remained a step ahead, using the alien's own momentum against it, turning its strength into a disadvantage. The audience watched in awe as the human began to mount a counterattack, striking with precision, targeting weak points in the alien's armor. Then came the turning point. The human feigned a stumble, and the alien, sensing victory, lunged with all its might. But it was a trap. The human sidestepped at the last moment, pivoted on his heel, and delivered a brutal, calculated strike to a vulnerable joint in the alien's armor. The impact was devastating. The alien staggered, its exoskeleton cracked, and it roared in pain. Sensing weakness, the human did not relent. He moved in swiftly, landing a series of blows with a ferocity that seemed to come from nowhere. The alien, unprepared for such an onslaught, tried to recover, but the human's speed and technique were relentless. In a final, desperate move, the alien attempted to overpower the human with sheer force, but the human slipped beneath its guard, delivering a precise strike to the base of its neck. The alien collapsed, its massive body hitting the ground with a thunderous crash. For a moment, the arena was deathly silent. Then, as the alien lay motionless, the realization spread like wildfire: the champion was dead. The alien audience gasped in disbelief, their cheers dying in their throats. The Galactic elite, who had watched with amused confidence, now stared in shock, unable to comprehend what they had just witnessed. The impact of the death rippled through the crowd. The aliens had always seen themselves as superior, their physical capabilities unmatched, but now they were confronted with the brutal reality that they had underestimated the humans. These creatures from a backwater planet had just shown them a level of violence, of calculated, lethal skill, that they were unprepared for. A heavy tension settled over the arena as the human fighter stood victorious, breathing heavily but calm. The Galactic elite exchanged uneasy glances, their earlier arrogance replaced by a dawning fear. This was no longer a game, it was a lesson in the harsh realities of underestimation. They now understood that they were facing an opponent who could not only match them but defeat them in the very arena where they believed themselves to be invincible. The final event was announced, and the tension in the arena was palpable. This was to be a gladiator-style team combat, a contest designed to push competitors to their absolute limits. It was a brutal amalgamation of multiple sports and combat skills, strength, agility, strategy, and sheer willpower would all be tested. The alien audience leaned forward with anticipation. They were eager to see their champions regain dominance. The galactic elite, sensing the need to reclaim their authority, handpicked their best warriors, the most fearsome and skilled fighters from across their worlds. Each warrior was equipped with technological enhancements, bio-augmented strength, energy shields, adaptive armor, and weapons suited to their unique physiologies. They entered the arena with confidence, certain that victory was theirs to claim. At the sound of the starting signal, the battle erupted with chaotic intensity. The alien team moved with precision, utilizing their technological advantages to gain early control. They deployed energy shields to deflect attacks, used their superior speed to outmaneuver the humans, and relied on their advanced weapons to maintain a range advantage. For a while, it seemed the aliens were poised to win. They dominated the initial stages, their attacks relentless and coordinated. But the humans, though outnumbered and seemingly outmatched, did not falter. From the beginning, they adopted a different approach. They knew they couldn't rely on strength alone, so they focused on their most potent asset, their adaptability. The human team moved with a fluid, dynamic strategy, constantly adjusting to the changing battlefield. They communicated with subtle signals, coordinating their movements with precision and exploiting every mistake made by their alien opponents. When faced with overwhelming force, the humans avoided direct confrontation, drawing their opponents into traps and counterattacks. They targeted the weak points in the aliens' armor, using their own momentum against them. The humans worked in tandem, supporting one another, shifting tactics seamlessly between offense and defense. Their teamwork was intuitive, honed through countless hours of training and a deep understanding of one another's strengths and weaknesses. Gradually, the tide began to turn. The aliens, accustomed to quick victories, started to lose their composure as their initial confidence eroded. The first alien fell when a human fighter executed a perfect maneuver, exploiting a gap in its shield defense. The crowd gasped, and the galactic elite exchanged uneasy glances. Then another alien warrior was brought down, overwhelmed by a flurry of strikes that targeted its unprotected joints. One by one, the aliens began to falter, their superior technology and physical enhancements proving insufficient against the humans' unpredictable and evolving tactics. The battle intensified. The humans continued to adapt, employing strategies that the aliens had never encountered. They utilized their surroundings, using the terrain to their advantage, and coordinated attacks that confused and disoriented their opponents. The alien team, once so composed, now found themselves on the defensive, unable to keep up with the human fighters' rapid changes in approach. Panic began to spread among the alien ranks. Their technological advantages, once seen as invincible, became liabilities in the face of the humans' relentless adaptability. The humans pressed their advantage, and more aliens fell, unable to cope with the continuous onslaught of unexpected and varied human techniques. The alien crowd watched in stunned silence, unable to believe what was unfolding before them. The final moments of the match were chaotic and fierce. The last few alien warriors, realizing they were losing, made a desperate, all-out attack, but the humans were ready. They anticipated the move, countering with a coordinated defense that split the alien force and isolated their remaining fighters. With a final, powerful surge, the human team overwhelmed the last alien, bringing it to the ground with a devastating blow. The arena fell silent, the reality of what had happened sinking in. The humans stood victorious, but the cost was evident. They were battered and bruised, several of them injured, but their expressions were filled with pride and resolve. They had won, not by brute strength or technological superiority, but through strategy, resilience, and unity. The galactic elite stared down from their elevated seats, faces a mix of disbelief and a dawning realization. Their arrogance had led them to underestimate their opponents, and they had paid the price. As the dust settled, the humans regrouped, tending to their wounded but standing tall. The alien audience, once so confident in their superiority, now looked on with a mixture of fear and respect. The galactic elite, unable to ignore the outcome, realized they could no longer dismiss the humans as a lesser species. They had witnessed something they had not expected, a species that could adapt, learn, and overcome even the greatest of challenges. The humans began to leave the arena, their heads held high, knowing they had earned a newfound reputation as formidable competitors. The aliens, meanwhile, retreated, their confidence shaken, their assumptions shattered. The galactic elite, still processing what they had seen, knew that things would never be the same. They had been given a harsh lesson, never to underestimate the humans or dismiss their ways. The humans had proven they were more than mere participants. They were contenders with the potential to disrupt the established order.